Parque Fernando is really far from being the most popular reserve in the whole arc of the wild. It doesn't have a huge variety of species nor the best terrain, but if we talk about getting trophies, it is one of the best reserves to get diamonds and rares. So on this occasion, we're gonna go over the best locations, the best times, and every single hotspot map to hunt all the species on Parque Fernando. Okay, the first of the best locations is one of the most unknown spots in the entire game. You know, not a lot of people know that there can be animals on this lake down here. And it ain't hard to see the reason. I mean, once you unlock all the watchtowers, this is literally the only lake that stays inside the remaining fog of war. So it's normal to think that there's nothing here, but it's actually a very decent spot. It is nice to hunt axis deer, mule deer, red deer, collared peccary, and even pumas. The only downside that this spot has is that it is one of those locations that works great for single player grinding, but not so much for server hopping. And the reason for that is that, as you can see, the nearest outpost is really far. And I don't think anyone wants to spend so much time traveling to a single spot on a server. I mean, it is a good spot, but it's not that good, you know? This place is definitely meant to be hunted on single player. You travel once, you place a tent and a tripod right here, and you're gonna have quick access to a nice spot to grind all the species I mentioned. Alright, this location is part of what I'ma call the home range number 1. It is essentially the habitat of the mule deer, the red deer, and the axis deer. You can also find javelinas and pumas on this region, but the difference is that these two species ain't exclusive to this home range. Level 5 axis deer. Estimate of 196 to 237, it's hard to know if it is gonna be a diamond, but it actually ain't too common for these guys to troll, so I would say there is a really high chance he makes it. It would be really cool if he does. It's been quite a while since my last diamond axis, probably like a year or so, and I'm actually a fan of how they look, I gotta say. They look impressive, the diamond racks are massive, and even though they are not the most popular species, I really think they are one of the best looking diamonds. Right now we're on this lake, which is one of the best locations to hunt the species present on the first home range. You know, the mule deer, the red deer, the axis deer, the collared peccary, and the puma. You can expect to find multiple zones and herds all around the lake, and the best thing is that, as you can see, there is an outpost right next to the lake, which makes it an accessible spot for both single player and multiplayer. Overall, it's a nice location and one of the best ones inside the first home range. Anyway, on this occasion I wanna drop this guy with the muzzle loader. Of course, I loaded the 50 caliber round balls to drop this guy without any issue, because we cannot forget that the axis deer is a class 3 species. You know, you need to make sure to use a proper weapon like the 243, and in case you need to get him closer, you can also use the axis deer collar. It can be useful in many situations, but I have to say it is really inconsistent. But let's see this time. As expected, it didn't do anything. At least not with this herd, but perhaps with the level 5. Where is he now though? Oh, right there, behind that tree. He ain't moving, so he didn't respond to the calls. Well, actually he's not that far, so it won't matter as much. We just need to aim a bit higher, because the max hearing distance for this ammo is 100 meters. Just a bit. He is down. $228.77 diamond, big diamond. We hit a single lung in the thoracic vertebrae, a bit too high. Clearly not the best shot, but luckily it was good enough. Apart from this location, there are other nice areas to hunt the species present on the home range number 1. Just keep in mind that all these locations are lakes, so in order to maximize the amount of animals you find, you have to visit them at the drink time of the species you wanna hunt. So the first of those locations is this small lake right here. It is one of those places that is great for single player grinding. I recommend you to place a tent and a tripod right here, from where you're gonna be able to hunt most of the zones present on the lake, which are quite a lot. Then another nice spot is this other lake located on Prados de Lupinos. It is especially good to find mule deer, it is full of them. And I remember very well getting a couple of max weight diamonds here, so it is an instrumental lake and definitely a must visit location. The same can be said for this other lake, that even though it's small, it usually has a high concentration of animals. I definitely recommend you to place a tent and a tripod next to it because it is a nice place for grinding. And well, even though the drink time is the best time to hunt all these species, we cannot ignore that Parque Fernando is full of nice locations to find feed zones and rest zones. These areas are obviously not as good as the lakes, but I think it's important to know them, especially if you wanna do some server hopping. You know, on multiplayer it's always an advantage to know more spots and times apart from the drink zones. The more spots you know, the less you'll care about the time of the session, which as I said is a big advantage because as you can see, the available servers on Parque Fernando are scarce. There are simply not many options, so the best thing you can do is to maximize the amount of locations you visit per session, which is only possible if you know some alternative hotspots like these ones. Alright, now we're gonna go over the best locations inside the home range number 2. The second home range is the home of 5 different species, including the black buck, the water buffalo, the cinnamon teal, the collared peccary, and the puma. So the first of the best locations inside the second home range is the north and the northeastern side of the coast. This area is usually the best place to find water buffalo herds and black buck herds. It's also an excellent location to set up your cinnamon teal decoys and wait for them to come in. There are many flocks on this area, so it's a nice place to try to find a diamond. Look at that. That's a monster. 177 to 196, the diamond score is around 167, so these guys guarantee a huge diamond and perhaps the biggest water buffalo I've ever found. Right now we're on this lake down here, which is a fantastic hotspot to hunt water buffalo and black buck. As you can see, it is full of them. There are multiple zones over the right side of the lake, making it one of the best locations either for server hopping or single player grinding. Okay, on this occasion I wanna drop this guy using the 470. It is one of the best rifles you can use against any class 9 species and one of my favorite weapons to hit the heart. It's simply an amazing rifle and quite underrated. Getting closer. And he's alert. The wind is really bad, so it won't be possible to get super close, but 100 meters should be close enough to be accurate with the reflex sight. The plan is to hit the heart, so we need to be a bit closer than normal. 102. Alright, he's alarmed. And that was a hard shot. Let's see how big it is. I really wanna see the score because the estimate was absolutely insane. I mean, the bottom estimate of this guy was already on par with my biggest diamond. It was also a 177. 178.68, what a monster. We hit the heart, the liver and the stomach on what is officially my biggest water buffalo ever.